Hello, I'm Hilary Hahn, and I'm answering questions about the collaboration I have going on with Hauschka. Lester asks, how do the different timbres of the prepared piano affect how you improvise? How do you react to the sounds, and vice versa? I would actually be very curious to see Hauschka's answer to this, because I think the way he prepares the piano affects the things that he plays, and then also the things that he plays affect how he chooses to prepare the piano, and he's alluded to that in several conversations we've had, so I'd be curious to have him answer this question as well. For me, it's interesting. It feels like I'm working with a complete band when I hear him play, because there are all these different sounds that to me represent different instruments almost. So in that sense, that affects what I hear, that affects what I react to, the things that I can mimic, the things that I can develop, the things that I can contrast with are all influenced by the sounds that he creates with the prepared piano, because that is his range of timbres. And some of it I can access through the violin, and some of it I just leave to him because he's doing it so well, and I don't want to sort of convolute what he's doing within his own ideas. And I've tried preparing the violin. I'm still trying to figure out if there's a way to prepare the violin as effectively as Hauschka prepares the piano. I'm finding more that technical changes of sound are easier to manipulate than actual prepared preparations that are put on the instrument, like external things that are attached to the instrument, because, well, I'll just get a little technical here with instrument layout, I guess. So with the violin, you're always playing directly on the strings, so the strings are always vibrating, yet you have 2 points of contact on the strings. The strings are not very long. You have the fingers of the left hand, which can be going up and down. You don't just stay in the farthest reach of the violin. You actually cover the fingerboard. And you have the bow, which can go from the bridge anywhere away from the bridge. So the bow could actually be anywhere on the strings as well. So how to attach something to the strings so it reacts to the vibrations is quite a bit more, I guess, impossible than it is on a piano, where the fingers are in a whole separate place from the strings, and the mechanism of the piano does not surround the string. It comes from one angle and hits, so the hammers hit the strings from beneath, and so if you put things on top of the strings, they will bounce and vibrate in reaction to the effect that the hammers have on the strings. You have the fact also with piano that each note is a different string, and each note has multiple strings that represent that note that work together. So you have an infinite number of options for changing the sound on some notes and not on others. Also with piano, you can stop playing with one hand so that you can then move a preparation away from a string or add something into it. With violin, the notes are created by where the fingers are on the strings, and you couldn't necessarily be sure that every time you would play a certain note, a preparation would react to that note and not to other notes. And also with the violin, you kind of have to be using both hands at the same time. You can take your left hand off the strings, and you can, reach around and move something on the violin, but it's kind of awkward. You don't have great access because you have this thing that's coming out from you, and it's a large piece of material, and it's fragile, so you don't want to be making mistakes when you're messing around with it. Also, the left hand helps to hold the violin up, so when you disengage the left hand, you have to be sure you have a good grip on it, or you're going to drop the thing. the thing about taking the bow off the strings is that the sound then stops. You can do stuff like rhythm with the left hand on the instrument. You can, create a rhythmic drive without bowing the instrument. So that's another option if you want to bridge the time to, change things back and forth. But you're still not going to be able to be in the middle of a passage and have one note jump out as being different from another. In addition, the piano strings are much longer, so they vibrate in a bigger way physically. And the violin strings, it's almost hard. You have to have something extremely well placed in order for it to vibrate in reaction to the strings. And the higher you get on a string with your left hand, the less you can see it vibrating. So the less an object in contact with the strings would be likely to rattle or skip or bounce or something like that. So that's why the violin is different from the piano in the sense of preparing it. However, you can prepare a violin. You can change the sound of the entire violin. So you can put a mute on the bridge. You can, if you want, you could detune the instrument or something like that, which I guess the piano can do as well with the pedals. But there's that side of violin playing, which is explored somewhat in classical music, but could maybe be explored more and is being explored more elsewhere. You also have the ability, if you use electronics with any instrument, to create an extension of your sound world. So there would be an infinite number of things I could do with the violin by incorporating electronics. At the moment, I play acoustic violin, but I can play on an electric instrument, but I think learning how to use a looping station, for example, or additional electronics is like learning a new instrument, which would be interesting. Who knows? But as far as my experience at the moment, I react to the sounds of the piano by trying to create something that fits the music, but also changes the character of it. And that can be with sounds or notes or rhythms or speeds or whatever.